Hello, friends. Today, I've brought a fantastic movie for all of you. You'll all love this movie, and I request that you please watch the movie till the end, like the video, and subscribe to the channel. At the beginning of the story, we see two American snipers, Mike and Tommy, both Marine commandos. They are currently on a special mission in a desolate African desert, tasked with eliminating a high-profile target. They spend a considerable amount of time waiting in this location. Suddenly, Mike spots some vehicles approaching through his scope and immediately alerts Tommy. Tommy then contacts their army base and informs them that the target is in their sights. At the same time, they see a procession of people walking from the other direction, accompanied by a camel carrying a bride. Seeing this, Mike realizes that a wedding ceremony is likely about to take place. Just then, a young man and a middle-aged man named Syed Asif get out of a car. He is surrounded by many security guards. Now people from both sides join together and the wedding rituals begin. From his vantage point on the hill, Mike tries to take aim at Syed, but each time people get in the way. He then receives orders from the base to complete the mission, even if it means killing the bride and groom, because it took 30 months to find this terrorist. But Mike doesn't want to do that. His partner, Tommy, repeatedly urges him to shoot, but Mike doesn't want to take innocent lives. He still can't bring himself to shoot. Suddenly, a terrorist notices something glinting on the hilltop, Mike's sniper scope, and realizes that someone is targeting them. Panic ensues, and their target escapes. Mike and Tommy couldn't face so many terrorists alone, so they have to flee for their lives. They jump down from a hill, and Tommy's GPS device is damaged when it hits a rock. Meanwhile, two vehicles full of militants are chasing them, and they surround them from all sides. So Mike fires in a different direction to distract them, and when the men go that way, the two seize the opportunity to hide. Meanwhile, a fierce sandstorm rises in the desert, providing cover for their escape. The storm is so intense that it's impossible to determine direction without a GPS, so Tommy contacts the base for help and reports that the mission has failed. The officer at the base tells him that they need to somehow reach a nearby village from where they will be rescued. They spend several hours walking in the desert. Under the scorching sun and unbearable heat, they continue walking, but their water supply is almost depleted. Then Mike spots a man through his scope who seems to be with his daughter. Tommy suggests that he might be a local who can give them directions. They then head in that direction. Suddenly, Mike finds a plate lying in the sand with a danger symbol on it. This reminds Mike that over 8,000 battles have been fought in this area in the last 40 years, during which more than 3 million landmines were laid. And if this is that area, they need to proceed with extreme caution. But Tommy ignores Mike's warning and carelessly walks ahead. Suddenly, his foot lands on a landmine, which explodes with a loud bang, injuring Tommy. As Mike takes a step to help him, he hears a clicking sound and stops in his tracks, realizing that if he moves, the mine might explode, killing him too. He sees that Tommy has lost both his legs in the explosion and is screaming in agony. Mike tells him that he can't come to him for help, so Tommy needs to somehow call for help using the radio. Then, Tommy gives himself 2 injections of morphine to ease the pain and somehow manages to reach the radio. But when he tries to contact his base, he gets no signal, and his last hope for help is shattered. Now there was only one way to survive. They had to somehow reach the village. Seeing Tommy's pain, Mike says that he will remove his foot from the mine. These landmines are quite old, so it's possible that they won't detonate due to rust. But Tommy didn't want Mike to take such a big risk. He says, "You have to survive and tell my wife that I love her," after which he shoots himself. Seeing this, Mike becomes very sad because he couldn't save his comrade despite his best efforts. Then he somehow calms himself down and starts thinking of ways to get out of this predicament.
That's when his eyes fall on the radio in Tommy's bag, which could be used to contact the base and call for help. But the bag is out of Mike's reach. To bring it closer, he uses his shoelace, ties it to a small axe, and tries to pull the bag towards him. When the bag comes closer, he sees that the radio isn't turning on because the radio's battery is in Tommy's pocket, which is far out of Mike's reach.
Then he takes out a small solar charger from his bag that could charge the radio in a short time, but he would have to wait a while. Until then, he takes out all the contents of his bag and lays them out in front of him, thinking about what might be useful at this moment. The radio then turns on and he makes contact with his base, telling them that he is standing on a landmine in the desert and that his partner, Tommy, is dead. But the officer first asks about the mission. Mike explains that the mission has failed. Then the officer asks about his location, to which Mike replies that his GPS is broken, so he can't say for sure, but they are about 4 hours east of the mission location. The officer then says that they cannot help him right now because there are continuous sandstorms in the desert. Therefore, it will take the rescue team 52 hours to reach him. Until then, he will have to somehow keep himself alive. Hearing this, Mike says that he cannot survive in the desert like this for 52 hours. His food and water are almost gone. That's why he needs immediate help. But the officer confirms that the rescue team will reach him in the next 52 hours, and he will have to give them a signal to tell them his location. The radio signal then cuts out, and Mike sets a 52-hour timer on his watch. Just then, Mike sees a massive sandstorm rising in the desert again. He immediately gathers all his belongings, covers his face with a cloth, and tries to withstand the storm with the support of his gun and knife. He has to endure this for several hours. Although it was quite difficult for him to keep his feet steady, when it was a matter of life and death, he had no other choice. Then, after several hours, when the storm subsides, he sees that a lot of sand has accumulated on him. After removing the sand, his eyes fall on Tommy's body, which had shifted closer to Mike during the storm. Then, Mike takes the batteries out of his pocket, where he also finds a picture of Tommy's family. He looks at it and puts it back in his pocket. But then he sees that the bag containing the radio has been blown away by the storm. So Mike now has the batteries but no radio. Seeing this, Mike laughs at his misfortune. Several hours pass as he sits there. In the scorching desert sun, he runs out of water due to thirst. His patience is slowly wearing thin, and he fires several rounds into the air and shouts for help. But in this desolate desert, there is no one to hear him. Not even an animal is in sight, let alone a human. He even considers shooting himself. But then he remembers something his comrade had said, and he calms down. Suddenly, he sees a man approaching him, not walking straight, but moving in a zigzag motion. Mike thinks he might be a militant, so he points his gun at him and says that there are landmines here, so he should stop where he is. But after a short while, it becomes clear that he is not a militant. The man then approaches Mike in a zigzag motion and asks why he is stuck here. He says Mike should be with his family. Mike then tells him the whole story, how his comrade was killed in the blast and how he himself is standing on a landmine. The man tells him that he should stop thinking about his friend and think about himself and take the next step. But Mike thinks the man is crazy because he is afraid that if he takes a step, the mine will explode and he will be killed. So he tells the man that he needs the radio so he can contact his base and call for help. But he doesn't bring Mike the radio and instead takes his water bottle and leaves. Several hours later, Mike sees a little girl running towards him in a zigzag motion. It turns out this girl is the daughter of the man who brought Mike water from the village. After drinking the water, Mike breathes a sigh of relief, and then the girl shows him a soldier figurine just like the one Mike had.
Mike gives his toy to the little girl. The girl then tries to explain to him through gestures that he should leave, but Mike doesn't and asks the girl to bring him the radio. However, the girl ignores him and leaves. It was getting dark, and Mike looks at his watch with a dejected expression. It showed that help was still 28 hours away. So, before it gets completely dark, he lights a fire and starts watching a video of his wife on his phone. He becomes quite emotional watching it. He then dozes off for a while, and when he wakes up, he sees that the fire has gone out. Suddenly, he hears the growling of wolves, and Mike sees that the wolves are dragging Tommy's body away. He quickly fires a shot into the air, and one of the wolves is killed when it steps on a landmine.
The sound of the explosion scares all the wolves away. Then, when morning comes, Mike sees the same man standing in front of him, who says that he is very lucky to have survived the deadly night in the desert. Mike says that perhaps he knows about these mines, which is why he walks in a zigzag motion. The man says that he doesn't know where the mines are, but walking this way is safer than walking in a straight line. Now Mike asks him to get the radio again. This time, the man listens to Mike, goes to get the radio, and returns safely. Then Mike turns on the radio, but he can't contact the base. After this, the man tells Mike that he should move forward, and saying this, he leaves. But in the desert heat, Mike's body was dehydrated, and he starts hallucinating that Tommy is sitting in front of him, telling him to go home. Now, when it gets dark, Mike takes out his phone and sees that his dad is calling, but it was only a hallucination because there was no signal in this desert for miles around. He sees Jenny in his visions, telling him to come home. Suddenly, the wolves attack Mike again, and Mike fires at them to defend himself. Fighting like this, he spends the entire night standing on a landmine. Then, when morning comes, we see wolf bodies lying around him. By now, Mike had spent 45 hours there, and only 7 hours remained until help arrived. Then the officer's voice is heard on the radio, saying that it will take another 17 hours for help to reach him because the rescue team coming to help him has been attacked by militants. Hearing this, Mike completely loses hope and says that he can't survive anymore. Then the officer says that someone wants to talk to him, and it's Mike's girlfriend, Jenny. Mike apologizes for leaving Jenny and repents for all his mistakes. Suddenly, he sees Jenny sitting on the sofa in front of him, but it's just a hallucination. As Mike reaches out to touch her, he starts to fall, but a man catches him. The man then tends to his wounds, and Mike thanks him and his daughter who had brought him water. The man explains that he removes landmines and sells them in the market, replacing them with tin cans so that metal detectors register them as mines. This is how his family makes a living. However, one day while removing a mine, there was an explosion and he lost a leg. After this accident, his life seemed dark and he had almost lost all hope. But when his wife and daughter came into his life, everything changed. His daughter, who brought him water, was with him during the accident and died in the explosion. But he's happy that she came to him. He says that Mike is lucky to have a family and that he should keep moving forward no matter the consequences. As the man leaves, Mike sees his daughter again, who disappears after walking a short distance. In the next moment, Mike sees a flashback of his childhood where his father used to beat his mother, and she is in the hospital. He also remembers some happy moments spent with Jenny. Then he receives a message on the radio that the rescue team is approaching his location, but he needs to confirm his location by sending a signal. Mike picks up a flare gun lying nearby, but before he can fire it, militants open fire on him. One of the bullets hits a landmine which explodes, causing Mike to drop the flare gun. Mike then fires his weapon in all directions. When the mine explodes, a cloud of dust rises around it. Mike then uses his sniper rifle to shoot down the two militants. Meanwhile, the rescue team was constantly searching for him,
but Mike was nowhere to be seen. Mike realizes this is his last chance to escape. However, the flare gun is far out of his reach, but if he doesn't act now, he might never get out of there alive. He somehow gathers his courage and takes his next step, only to find that there was no explosion. When Mike clears away the sand, he finds a tin box containing a toy soldier. Then he remembers what the man had told him about how he and his daughter used to place tin boxes instead of landmines. Overwhelmed, he collapses to the ground and begins to cry. He feels more remorse than relief, because if he had taken that step earlier, his friend Tommy's life might have been saved. Then he fires the flare gun to signal for help. Shortly after, the rescue team arrives to pick him up. Finally, it is shown that Mike has safely returned to his country, and he is wearing the toy soldier he found in the desert around his neck. At the airport, Mike meets Jenny, who has come to pick him up. He apologizes to Jenny and proposes marriage to her, and the movie ends. So friends, let us know what you thought of this story in the comments, and be sure to subscribe to our channel for more videos like this.